The Deltan's blue blood splattered Billy's face as his combat knife found its mark, the first human weapon to pierce their so-called invincible hides. Wiping the sticky liquid from his eyes, Captain Billy Adams of the United Earth Forces scanned the eerie darkness of Zeta Prime. His elite commandos crept towards their target, a key Deltan military outpost containing critical intel on the aliens' next attack. As the humans drew close, a sense of unease filled Billy's gut. The base was quiet. Too quiet. Where were the perimeter sensors, the patrolling guards, the defensive automated guns? The Deltans had a reputation as an undefeatable warrior race, their technology and tactics light years beyond Earth's. So why did this vital base seem practically abandoned? A blinding light stabbed the night as alarms blared to life. Deltan soldiers swarmed from hidden tunnels and bunkers, quickly surrounding the humans. Each alien stood 8 feet tall, their forearms bristling with advanced plasma rifles. Leading them was Commander Yaris, a legendary Deltan famous for his brutality and flawless combat record. A trap, a goddamn trap. The Deltans had lured them here, and Billy's squad was massively outnumbered and outgunned. They needed that intelligence, or billions of humans would die in the Deltans' coming assault. Plasma bolts lit the sky as both sides opened fire. To complete the mission and save humanity, Billy would have to pull off the impossible, defeating an invincible foe. Billy crouched behind a broken chunk of the outpost wall as blue plasma bolts sizzled overhead. His squad huddled nearby, their guns up and firing controlled bursts at the advancing Deltan swarm. "Flank left, draw their attention," Billy barked into his helmet mic. His troops moved as one, spraying pulse rounds and forcing the Deltan vanguard to take cover. Billy touched a button on his suit's wrist panel and shimmered out of sight. His cloaking tech was their ace in the hole. Creeping unseen through rubble and shadows, Billy circled behind a pack of hulking Deltan warriors. He sighted down his pulse rifle and squeezed the trigger in rapid succession. Pop, pop, pop! Deltan skulls exploded in showers of brain matter. Suddenly leaderless, the alien grunts milled about in confusion, firing wildly. It was the break Billy needed. Push forward, go, go, go. Boots pounded as the humans charged, blasting through the disoriented Deltan ranks. Billy sprinted ahead, searching for their target, the outpost's central computer banks. He burst into a dim chamber, consoles glowing. A strange device was wired into the biggest terminal covered in alien glyphs. Bingo. Billy jacked in a portable drive and started the download. Whatever this thing held, humanity needed it bad. Well, well, look what we have here. Billy whirled to see Commander Yaris himself looming in the doorway. The monster had a jagged sword in one hand, a whirring plasma minigun in another, a crackling stun mace in the third, and some sort of launcher in the fourth. Shit. Yaris flew at Billy, his forearms a whirlwind of deadly strikes. Billy backpedaled, barely deflecting the onslaught. His gun was knocked flying as he frantically parried. Yaris was ungodly fast, landing stinging cuts that bypassed the human's armor. But Billy gave as good as he got. His suit-enhanced punches cracked Deltan ribs. He headbutted Yaris so hard the alien stumbled. For a split second, Billy glimpsed shock in those beady eyes. Yaris had never battled a human who could match him blow for blow. The download pinged complete. Now Billy just had to escape. He ducked a whistling sword stroke and came up swinging, his straight right smashing into Yaris's jaw like a wrecking ball. The Deltan warlord crashed to the floor in a spray of teeth. Billy didn't stick around to continue the fight. He grabbed the data drive and sprinted for the exit. The rest of his squad was already falling back, their rearguard blasting at the pursuing Deltans. The humans fled the doomed outpost at top speed. Billy only allowed himself to breathe once their shuttle had punched through the atmosphere and hit FTL. They had done it. They had the intel. But as he plugged the drive into his comms console, Billy's gut turned to ice. The schematics flickering on the screen showed a massive Deltan armada already in motion. Humanity had mere days before their invasion hit in full force. This was only the beginning. Billy slammed his fist into the shuttle console as they hit atmosphere. Strap in, boys, this is going to be a bumpy ride. The small craft shook as it punched through the turbulent layers of gas and came in hot towards the UEF's hidden base. Tires screeched as they hit the runway, the shuttle skidding to a halt before a cluster of grey concrete bunkers. Billy was first down the ramp, sprinting towards the command center with the precious data drive gripped tight. They had to move fast. Earth's time was running out. "What have you got?" General Isaac Thompson rumbled as Billy and his team burst into the war room. The general was a barrel-chested warrior who'd fought the Deltans for decades. Scars crisscrossed his craggy face. "Bad news. The Deltan Armada is already on the move. They'll hit our outer colonies in days," Billy said grimly, plugging in the data drive. A massive hologram bloomed to life above the command table, showing the Deltan fleet's projected course. "My God, there's hundreds of capital ships," one of the officers gasped. Thompson's flinty eyes narrowed. "Our conventional forces won't stand a chance against a fleet that size. Captain Adams, tell me you found something, anything we can use." Billy shook his head. "Just more proof of how outclassed we are, although—" He pulled up an inventory list and stabbed a finger at one item. "The Deltans were real interested in this stuff called Elementium X. From what I can tell, it's some kind of super-rare power source." Thompson grunted. "I know what it is. We've been trying to acquire Elementium X for Project Zeus." "Project Zeus?" "A classified R&D initiative. We've developed an experimental EMP weapon that could fry every circuit in the Deltan fleet. But it's unstable as hell. We need Elementium X to power it." "So if we got our hands on this Elementium X stuff, we might just have a chance of stopping those blue bastards," Thompson said, stroking his chin. "But there's a catch. The only known deposit is on a moon deep in Deltan space, and you can bet they'll have it locked down tighter than a nun's knickers." Billy was already running the scenarios in his head. A small elite team inserted covertly, cloaking tech to sneak past the perimeter, demo charges to blast into the vault. "With respect, sir, I think my squad is uniquely equipped to handle this." Thompson regarded him shrewdly. "You just got back from a hellish mission, son. Your team needs rest." "Earth needs her best," Billy countered. "We're the only ones who've seen how the Deltans operate up close. We know their weaknesses." Thompson arched an eyebrow. "Weaknesses? I thought the Deltans didn't have any." "They do. Arrogance," Billy said, thinking back to his duel with Yaris. The alien had been shocked to face a worthy opponent. The Deltans were so used to being the biggest and baddest, they'd grown overconfident. Billy could use that. "This is our last shot," Thompson said heavily. "If you fail—" "We won't," Billy vowed. "Get us a ship and the best damn pilot in the UEF. I've already got a plan." As Tech scrambled to prep a stealth shuttle, Billy gathered his squad. He explained the stakes, the odds, the sheer insanity of what they were attempting. To a man, they all volunteered without hesitation. They'd follow him into hell itself. Billy clasped forearms with each of his brothers, emotion burning his throat. This was humanity's darkest hour, and they would be its shield and sword. The mood was grim but determined as they boarded the sleek black shuttle, checking weapons and gear. In the cockpit, a rakish figure lounged, flight helmet under one arm. "Captain Jax Ryder at your service. They say I'm the best pilot in the galaxy, and the most modest," he quipped with an irreverent grin. Despite the crushing pressure, Billy found himself smiling back. Gallows humor in the face of certain death. Maybe they'd get along after all. "Just get us to that moon in one piece, flyboy." "Aye, aye, Captain Badass." Ryder sketched a mock salute, then turned to the controls. The shuttle's engines growled to life. As the hangar doors yawned open, revealing the star-flecked void beyond, Billy felt a cold sense of purpose fill him. The Deltans thought they had already won, thought humanity was soft and weak. He'd show them just how wrong they were. The stealth shuttle ghosted through the void, its matte black hull drinking in the starlight. In the cargo bay, Billy and his squad checked their gear with practiced efficiency. Pulse rifles, demo charges, cloaking units, all top-of-the-line UEF tech. They'd need every advantage to pull this off. ETA to target, 5 minutes, Ryder called from the cockpit. Scans show automated AA batteries and roving patrols, tight as a Deltan's ass down there. Billy pulled up a hollow of the mining complex. We'll set down in this ravine, then cloak and infiltrate on foot. Stick to the plan, stay silent, and we just might get out of this alive. The shuttle settled on the rocky ground with barely a whisper. Billy and his men activated their camo and slipped into the shadows of the moon's craggy landscape. Towering machinery loomed in the distance, strange lights flickering along conveyors and pipelines. The place was a maze of industry. They crept past sensor grids and drone patrols, hugging walls to avoid the crisscrossing beams of floodlights. Billy's skin crawled as they ventured deeper into the metal labyrinth. Too easy. Where were the guards? The warriors? An ominous hum made the hairs on his neck stand up. Around the corner, a phalanx of spider-like robots skittered by on spindly legs, scanner eyes probing, sentry drones, armed to the teeth. Billy froze, not daring to breathe. The drones passed inches from his face, servos whirring. Sweat trickled down his back. One twitch, one glitch in their cloaking. The moment stretched for an eternity. Then the drones were gone, vanishing into the gloom. Billy exhaled slowly. That was too damn close. "Over here," Sergeant Hawkins hissed. "I've got an access hatch." The squad crowded around the innocuous metal grate. Hawkins fiddled with his hacking rig, muttering. Seconds ticked by. Billy's fingers tightened on his rifle grip. Click! The hatch popped open with a soft hiss. Bingo, we're in. They dropped into a dim tunnel, boots ringing on steel. Strange tubes and conduits snaked along the walls, pulsing with an eerie blue light. The air smelled of ozone and chemicals. "What the hell is this place?" Corporal Jansen muttered. Billy frowned. The intel said this was just a mining operation, but this... He swiped a finger through a sticky residue dripping from a cracked pipe. It sizzled on his glove, eating through the reinforced fabric like acid. "Jesus," Billy yelped, shaking off the bubbling goo. "They're not just digging up this Elementium X stuff. They're doing something to it, refining it, weaponizing it." A chill rippled through the squad. If the Deltans got this kind of firepower, humanity wouldn't stand a chance. "Let's keep moving," Billy said grimly. "We need to find that storage vault and blow this place to hell." They pushed on, following the twisting tunnels. Strange machines thrummed in alcoves, arcane symbols flickering on screens. Tendrils of glowing mist drifted along the floor. It was like something out of a fever dream. "Contact," Jansen barked. "Dead ahead." Shapes emerged from the chemical haze. Deltan warriors clad in gleaming exoskeletons that pulsed with malevolent light. They carried wicked rifles that glowed with an unearthly luminescence. "Open fire!" Billy roared. The tunnel erupted in a storm of energy beams and pulse rounds. Deltan armor shattered under the onslaught, spraying ichor, but they gave as good as they got. Searing blasts of plasma scorched the walls, barely missing the humans. "They're weapons! They're juiced up on Elementium X!" Hawkins shouted, rolling to avoid a crackling bolt. Billy cursed. The Deltans were walking tanks, shrugging off hits that would have drilled a normal warrior. His squad was good, but they couldn't hold out forever against this kind of firepower. "Fall back, we'll find another route." They fighting retreat, leaping frantic potshots. A Deltan beam clipped Jansen's shoulder, spinning him like a top. He hit the deck with a cry of pain, suit smoking. Billy dragged him up, pulse pounding. They had to... A familiar silhouette stepped through the swirling mist, towering, brutal, eyes blazing with primal hate. "Yaris." The Deltan commander was a nightmare of hydraulics and armor, the wounds from his last clash with Billy still livid on his craggy face. His 4 arms bristled with jagged blades and whirring guns, a brutal arsenal. He was death incarnate. "Take the others and find that vault," Billy told Hawkins, never taking his eyes off Yaris. "I'll handle this." Hawkins hesitated. "Sir, you can't—" "That's an order, Sergeant." The uncompromising steel in Billy's voice brooked no argument. Hawkins gave a tight nod and hauled Jansen up, signaling the others. They vanished into the chemical fog, taking the precious hacking gear, leaving Billy alone with a legend, a monster. "We meet again, little human," Yaris rumbled, his voice like grinding stones. "I do not make the same mistake twice. This time I will peel the flesh from your bones." "Awful lot of talk for an overgrown smurf," Billy shot back, dropping into a combat crouch. His armor hummed with power, his rifle up and tracking. "Let's dance, big boy." Yaris exploded into motion, a whirlwind of slashing blades and hammering fists. Billy backpedaled, barely staying ahead of the onslaught. Sparks flew as alien steel clashed against human alloy. Billy gave ground, luring Yaris deeper into the maze of pipes and machinery. The Deltan's bulk worked against him here, his giant frame crashing into walls and conduits. Billy used that, vaulting over obstacles and firing from the hip. Pulse rounds spanged off Yaris's armor, leaving pockmarks and dents. But the Deltan just wouldn't go down. He was an avalanche of destruction, smashing through metal like paper, shrugging off hits that would have killed a bull. Billy's rifle clicked empty. He hurled it at Yaris's head and drew his combat blade, teeth bared in a feral grin. Time to get up close and personal, and... The warrior's blades met in a shower of sparks, alien steel grating on human alloy. Billy drove a knee into Yaris's groin, but the Deltan's armor absorbed the blow. Yaris slammed his head forward, cracking Billy's faceplate. Stars exploded across his vision. They traded body blows, fists and elbows thudding into flesh. Yaris was unstoppable, his forearms a maelstrom, but there was a pattern to his attacks, a rhythm: punch, slash, hammer blow, repeat. All Billy had to do was get the timing right. There, an overhand chop, a fraction too slow. Billy slipped under the blow and rammed his blade up, finding the seam at Yaris's armpit. The Deltan howled as the knife bit deep, ichor spraying. Billy wrenched the blade free and spun, every muscle coiled and tensed. His roundhouse kick took Yaris square in the faceplate, snapping the alien's head back with a sickening crunch. Yaris toppled like a felled tree, armor clanging on the deck. Billy pounced, hammering vicious elbows into the Deltan's face again and again until his knuckles were slick with blue. Yaris thrashed and bucked, but Billy held on, choking the warrior with his own shattered faceplate. "Yield," Billy growled. "It's over." Yaris went limp, his forearms flopping to the deck. Billy leaned close, lips peeled back in a wolf's smile. "I win, you son of a bitch." He rose, breathing hard. Now to find his squad and get the hell out of... A blinding flash seared his eyes. A klaxon wailed, deafening in the enclosed space. "Warning," a flat mechanical voice droned. "Self-destruct sequence initiated. Reactor overload imminent. All personnel evacuate immediately." Billy cursed. A trap within a trap. He should have known Yaris wouldn't go down that easy. The sly bastard must have triggered the destruct when Billy had him dead to rights. No time to lose. He sprinted through the labyrinth, following the strobing evacuation lights. The whole complex was shaking itself apart, gouts of flame erupting from ruptured pipelines. Ahead, a familiar black-clad figure waved frantically from an open hatch. "Boss, we've got the package. Time to go." Billy hurled himself into the shuttle, hitting the deck in a clatter of armor. Hawkins slammed the hatch and bellowed to Ryder. The shuttle lurched into the air, engines screaming. Billy scrambled to a porthole, watching the doomed mine recede below them. The entire mountain was collapsing in on itself, belching fire and debris. A roiling mushroom cloud clawed at the sky. Then they were in space, the explosion dwindling to a faint glow behind them. Billy slumped back in his crash webbing, every muscle aching. He glanced to Hawkins, who cradled a pulsing blue cylinder in his arms. "We got it." Hawkins grinned. "Enough Elementium X to power 1,000 EMPs. The Deltan fleet won't know what hit 'em." Billy allowed himself a weary smile. Against all odds, they'd done it. They had a fighting chance now, a slim one, but he'd take it. Ryder's voice crackled over the shipwide comm. "I'm getting reports over UEF channels. The Deltan Armada is at the outer colonies. They're hitting Proxima Centauri hard." Billy's gut clenched. Proxima Centauri, a buzzing hive of 20 billion souls. If it fell... "Get us back to Earth, maximum burn," he told Ryder, "and pray we're not too late." The stars outside blurred into streaks of light as the shuttle leaped to FTL. Billy closed his eyes, exhaustion like lead in his bones. They had the key to humanity's survival. Now they just had to live long enough to use it. The UEF base buzzed with desperate energy as Billy and his squad rushed the precious Elementium X to the waiting scientists. Technicians swarmed over the experimental EMP device, frantically integrating the volatile substance into its power core. Every second counted now. The Deltan fleet had breached the outer solar system, and Earth's defenses were already crumbling. General Thompson's face was ashen as he watched the tactical displays. UEF ships burned and died, hopelessly outmatched by the Deltan's superior technology. Missiles and plasma beams filled the void, reaping a grim toll. They were losing. Badly. "Tell me there's good news," the general said as Billy approached, his voice strained. "The device is armed and ready, but..." Thompson turned, his eyes hardening. "But what, Captain?" "The Elementium X, it's unstable, more than we thought. The eggheads say the EMP will burn out after one shot." The general was silent for a long moment. Then he straightened, his jaw set. "Then we'll make it count. We have to take out the Deltan flagship, cut off the head, and the body will die." Billy nodded grimly. "I'll lead the strike team myself." "I can't ask you to do that, son. It's a one-way trip." "You don't have to ask, sir." A ghost of a smile touched Thompson's weathered face. "Crazy bastard. Get your squad prepped. I'll have the Nightwing fueled and ready." The Nightwing, the UEF's most advanced stealth ship, all bleeding-edge tech and electronic countermeasures. Even with its cloak, flying it into the heart of the Deltan fleet would be like threading a needle blindfolded, while getting shot at, with nukes. But what choice did they have? Billy gathered his squad, his brothers, in the hangar. He looked each man in the eye, letting them see the truth on his face. Not all of them would be coming back. Maybe none of them. No words were needed. They clasped forearms, hugged, made peace with their gods. Then they boarded the Nightwing, the EMP device secured in its armored hold. Ryder was already in the pilot's seat, his face set in cocky lines. "Strap in, ladies, this is going to be one hell of a ride." The Nightwing leapt from the hangar, engines screaming. They arced out of Earth's atmosphere and plunged into the seething maelstrom of the battle. Shattered ships and bloated corpses pinwheeled past, lit by the flash of explosions. The Deltan fleet loomed ahead, a phalanx of dagger-like battleships bristling with guns. And there, at its center, the flagship. A monstrous dreadnought, its hull encrusted with weapons. Ryder wove through the apocalyptic debris field, the Nightwing's cloak shimmering. Proximity alarms wailed as they skimmed past Deltan ships. The enemy crew so close, Billy could see their four-armed silhouettes. His heart was a jackhammer in his chest. The slightest twitch on the controls, the merest flicker of their cloak. "Steady," Ryder murmured. "Almost there." And then the Deltan flagship filled the viewports, its hull a mountain of alien alloy. They were going to make it. They were going to... A plasma beam speared the void, barely missing the Nightwing's prow. Then another, and another. The Deltans had seen them. "Shit," cloaks fluctuating. Ryder snarled, hands flying over the controls. "Guess that's what we get for buying UEF tech." More beams sizzled past, the flagship's gunners dialing in the range. The Nightwing shuddered as a glancing hit vaporized its stern armor. Alarms screamed, red lights flashing. "We've lost cargo hold 3. Breaches on decks 2 and 4. We can't take another hit like that," Hawkins shouted. Billy lunged for the calm. "Get us out of here, Ryder. We need to..." A deafening boom shook the ship, sending him sprawling. He tasted blood, his vision swimming. Smoke filled the bridge, the acrid stench of burning plastic and scorched metal. Automated extinguishers hissed, dousing the flames. "Ryder! Ryder!" Billy hauled himself up, searching for the pilot. A ragged hole yawned where the cockpit had been, the twisted edges still glowing. The void beckoned beyond, strewn with glittering shards of transparent steel, and drifting among them. Billy squeezed his eyes shut. Ryder. Crazy, fearless Ryder. The best damn pilot humanity had ever known. "Orders, sir, what do we do?" Jansen asked, his voice cracking. Billy looked to the flickering tactical display. The Deltan flagship loomed ahead, growing larger by the second. They were on a collision course, their engines dead, maneuvering thrusters shot to hell. But the EMP was still intact, still armed. He opened a ship-wide channel. "All hands, this is the captain. Abandon ship, get to the escape pods, now." His squad stared at him in shock. "Sir, what about you?" Hawkins asked. "I'll finish the mission, alone." Billy's voice was calm, resolute. He'd always known deep down that it would end like this, that his path had only one destination. He looked to each of his men in turn, his brothers, his family. "It's been an honor serving with you, all of you. Now get the hell off my ship, that's an order." They hesitated, torn. Then Hawkins snapped a salute, his eyes bright. "Give 'em hell, sir." Billy returned the salute. "Hoo-yah, Marines." One by one they filed off the bridge, heading for the escape pods. Billy watched them go, something tight and painful in his chest. Then he turned to the controls, his jaw set. He had one last service to perform. The Deltan flagship swelled, filling the cracked viewports. Billy could see its launch bays now, rank upon rank of attack craft waiting to be unleashed. But they never would. Not if he had anything to say about it. "Come on, you alien sons of bitches," he snarled. "Let's dance." The Nightwing struck the flagship's hull like the fist of an angry god. Twisted metal screamed and tore, the dying ship ploughing through armored bulkheads like a bullet through flesh. Flames exploded through the breach, melting plastic, steel, bone. Deltan crew died by the dozens, cooked in their own suits. Billy, half fused to his command chair, raised the detonator in a shaking hand. The EMP device blinked red, ready, eager. A hatch burst open, a nightmare figure staggering through the smoke and ruin. Yaris. The Deltan warlord was a ruin, his armor blasted to shreds, ichor leaking from a dozen wounds. But still he came on, death in his eyes. "Yield, human," Yaris gurgled, his voice wet with blood. "You cannot win." Billy laughed, a harsh grating sound. "I'm not here to win, asshole. I'm here to make sure you lose." Yaris lunged, his mangled hands grasping for Billy's throat. Billy caught the alien's wrists, servos whining in his armor. They grappled, straining, as the bulkheads buckled and broke around them. Consoles detonated in showers of sparks, the ship shaking itself to pieces. Billy's vision tunneled, his breath ragged in his lungs. He was spent, every muscle screaming, his bones cracking under the strain. But still he held on, his grip unbreakable. Because he had the detonator. He smiled up at Yaris, his teeth bloody. "From hell's heart I stab at thee," he whispered. And pressed the button. The world went white. A sun bloomed at the heart of the Deltan fleet, an expanding sphere of electromagnetic devastation. Deltan ships spasmed and went dark, their systems fried, their circuits slagged. Attack craft tumbled and spun, powerless. The flagship shuddered like a wounded beast, secondary explosions ripping through its innards. Across the battlefield, UEF crews cheered as their foes faltered. As the tide turned, this was the moment they had prayed for, the miracle they needed. Weapons that had fallen silent roared back to life, tearing into the stricken Deltan fleet. The invaders broke. They ran, leaving their dead and dying behind, leaving their shattered dreams of conquest and glory. Earth had won, humanity had won. But the cost? In the UEF command center, General Thompson watched the tactical display, his eyes wet. The Deltan fleet was in full retreat, harried by UEF ships every step of the way. They would be back, of course. Their kind never admitted defeat for long. But they would remember this day. They would remember the man who had given everything to stop them. "Attention all ships," Thompson said, his voice rough with emotion. "Stand down from battle stations. The Deltan invasion has been repelled. I repeat, the Deltan invasion is over." He paused, gathering himself. Let the word go forth from this time and place. Captain William Adams, Billy, gave his life to save us all. He was the best of us, the bravest of us, and he will never be forgotten. Across Earth, across the fleet, men and women wept and cheered and laughed. They danced in the streets, hugged their children, kissed their lovers. The nightmare was over. The long, dark night had ended. And somewhere, in a place beyond fear, beyond pain, a warrior rested at last, his duty done, his honor unblemished, his name forever inscribed in the annals of history. Billy Adams, hero of Earth, savior of humanity. He had not lived to see the dawn, but because of him there would be a dawn, and that was enough, that had to be enough. For now and for all time. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.